Michael Haas from the HouseHack Seattle team here. Today we're going to be pulling up a 2-unit property in Fremont and using our HouseHack Seattle rental calculator to calculate what the return on investment would be for this property as a house hack or a rental. I'll walk you through the spreadsheet so that you know how to use it on your own for future properties. I'm using Compass today, but you can also use Redfin or Zillow, or if you're an agent with access to the MLS, use the MLS. Here on Compass, I've got Palatine Ave North open. It's in a different place on every different service, but the first step here that I like to use is to look for whether there's multiple units on the property. On this one, we can go see in the remarks that it says that there's a custom remodeled home located on one lot. They can be used as a single-family home, or the cottage can be a home office, guest suite, or short-term rental. So it does look like there's 2 structures, 1 and 2 here on the property. So 2 units. When we scroll down in Compass, the place that we look to see exactly how large and how many bedrooms and bathrooms are in each of those units, since this top number is going to be the total square footage for the whole property. To find the individual units, we'll scroll down here to multifamily, click there, and here we can see Unit 1's info. It looks like it is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit, and Unit 2's info looks like it is a 1-bed, 1-bath unit. So once we have that info, we'll create a HouseHack Seattle spreadsheet here. You should have access to this link, but if you don't, feel free to shoot me a message. First step is to make a copy and name it with the property address, Palatine Ave. Once we have that copy, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to input the number of units in the property. In this case, we just found that there's 2 units. One is a 2-bed unit and one is a 1-bed unit. So we'll put that information in first. After that, we'll use a tool called Rentometer to pull up the estimated rent for each of those units. So while this is loading, I'll pull up Rentometer. And all we do here is we take the property address, plug it into Rentometer, select Summary Report, leave all the rest of this info as is, hit Analyze, and then hit View Pro Report. If you're not a pro member of Rentometer, you do still get a few rental reports for free. After that, you have to pay $49 a year for these reports. So what I do is I always go to, once I've viewed the Pro Report, I go to My Reports, and here it is, right here, and click Download Print PDF, and that gets me the PDF view. So we'll jump back over to our rental spreadsheet, which is all loaded now. The first step we're going to do is we're going to add in this Step 3 unit rental income the unit count. So there's a single family home that's a 2-bed, 2-bath, 2-2, and there's an ADU unit, a second unit, that's a 1-bed, 1-bath, 1.1. There shouldn't be any info in here. This was just left over from the last time we used the spreadsheet, but that should normally be blank. We'll pull up this Rentometer report, and we can see the 1-bed rent averages, or the median, is about $1,800, and the 2-bed rent, the median is about $2,500. So for here, we'll jump over, and we'll put $2,500 in the 2-bed rent and $1,800 in the 1-bed rent. Next up, we'll start filling out the property info in this Step 1 section. We can see the purchase price here, or the listing price here. Usually we'll set the list price and the purchase price as the same initially, although that may change in the future. Estimated rehab costs is where we add the cost to renovate the property. Usually when we're doing a first look at the property, unless it is obviously in need of rehab, we'll just leave this blank, and after we actually view the property in person, we can add that in later. All of these green tabs are formulas that will change, or that you have the option to change, but usually should not. And all the black sections are formulas that you should not change. Blue is our user input, so really as we're working through this spreadsheet, just focus on changing the blue tabs. So we've got our purchase price in there, we've got our rehab cost at 0, closing costs is automatically calculated. The appreciation in Seattle tends to be about 5.5% on average. That's a 20-year average. So you can edit this if you want to go with a different assumption, but we usually leave that at 5.5%. The estimated ARV is the estimated after repair value for the property. For this property, since we're not planning on doing any renovations, we'll just assume that the after repair value is the same as the purchase price. On another property that we were doing a renovation, say a $500,000 property that we were doing a $100,000 renovation on, the after repair value would be the value of that property based on comparable sales after that renovation is completed, something that a real estate agent like me can calculate for you, or you can look at renovated homes on Redfin, Zillow, Compass to try and estimate that. Estimated annual income change, that's the rent increase minus the property tax increase. Rents tend to go up about 4 or more % in Seattle a year. So after we subtract the property taxes, we usually put about 3% as the annual net increase. Here on the down payment side, you can change that based on your personal situation. We usually put 20 or 25% in by default. Interest rate would be the current interest rate here in the market. To find that, if you're ever curious, there's a great website here called Mortgage News Daily that gives you a kind of up-to-date look at what interest rates are today. Today it looks like 6.95 is the average interest rate, so we'll put that in here. Working our way down, all of these blue tabs we will typically leave as is. A 30-year mortgage with 12 payments a year, $100 a month for insurance, and then this estimated property taxes is one that we will typically change. So to get the estimated property taxes, we just look at the property here. You can search for tax, and it's in the key details section here of Compass right at the top. That's the annual taxes, so we'll copy that, and to get the monthly taxes, we'll just put that number in and divide it by 12, so equals 6,414 divided by 12. To get the monthly taxes. This property does not have any HOA dues. If it did, it would be listed in this tax and HOA information. There's nothing there for the HOA. It's not a condo that has HOA dues to worry about. So we're done with this section here. So we've gone through step 1 and inputted the property purchase price and assumptions. We've gone through step 2 and inputted the mortgage details. We've gone through step 3 already. We did that at the start by inputting the unit size. Step 4 here is all automatically calculated. The only thing that you might change are these assumptions. For vacancy reserve, we usually assume 3% vacancy. Maintenance and CapEx, we usually assume 7 or 8%. And property management, if you're hiring a professional property manager, you would put their fee in there. For the purpose of running numbers, we usually don't change these. So we can scroll down here to the bottom and start looking at the deal analysis. When we're analyzing these properties, we break down all purchases into the 4 major benefits of investing in real estate. That would be cash flow or cash on cash, essentially the return on the investment of your down payment. Appreciation, the increase in value of the property year over year. Loan paydown, which is just the amount that you decrease your mortgage balance every year by your natural payments, essentially the principal that you pay off on your mortgage. And then tax savings, any benefits that you get from depreciation that lower your overall tax burden. So to calculate this, the only thing that you really need to change is this marginal tax rate. If you know your marginal tax rate, that's the tax rate that you are currently in for U.S. income taxes, you can put it in there. That rate ranges from 10 to 37% depending on your income. We have 24% in there, kind of a middle value just as a placeholder, so that's a good place to start. You can see here that the cash flow of the property is pretty heavily negative at $1,800 a month. That does include not just the mortgage, but vacancy, property taxes, repairs. So the true cash flow every month will be not as negative as that, but over a long period of time, once you factor in repairs, that's what we'd expect to average. The appreciation here in this neighborhood is quite good, so you do have quite a bit of appreciation as well as quite a bit of loan paydown. and tax savings. So although the cash on cash on this property is negative, the combined ROI is still positive. This section here in black is just the 5-year return. So that's looking at year 5, what the cash on cash and other numbers look like. You can see the cash on cash is still negative, but less so. The reason for that is that rents increase over time and your mortgage payment will not. So that factors in rent increases. And here is the ROI overall on year 5. Here's a good example of a typical Seattle property where it does offer a positive return on investment, but at least at current 7% interest rates does not have cash flow. There are some opportunities that are slightly better than this in the market, but we are seeing a lot of negative cash flow or break-even cash flow properties pretty commonly at 7% interest rates. The main value here of still purchasing a property that has negative cash flow is that if the interest rate drops, you have an opportunity to refinance into a lower payment. For instance, let's say that we drop about 2% to 5% instead of 7%. You can see as we scroll down, we've saved about $1,000 a month on the mortgage payment. So you can see how massive that decrease in interest rate can be. And then, of course, not too long ago, we were at 3%. Not that we are going to get there very soon. I think it could take quite a while if we ever make it back down to 3%. But for the purposes of this example, you can see now we've gone from negative $1,800 a month to break even. So interest rate plays a huge factor in the cash flow of the property, and one benefit of purchasing at a higher interest rate is that you've locked in that rate, and if rates drop, you have the opportunity to refinance. Whereas if you purchased at a low 3% interest rate, chances are you're never getting a lower interest rate. So the only way to increase the cash flow of the property is to raise your rents. Here, with a higher interest rate, there are many ways to increase the cash flow of the property, such as refinancing or the traditional raising your rents. I'm Michael again at HouseHack Seattle. Feel free to drop me a comment on this video if you have questions or reach out directly. Thanks, y'all.